Hey everyone, I'm Ben, and this is Counterfeit Christianity. Today we're in a different spot. Sam's not here. He couldn't make it this time, but we're out in the bush with Dan Swan, and this is his place, and this is my other mate Cal. And we are all on the way with Jesus. Today we're talking about intentionality. That was your idea, wasn't it, Cal?
Yeah, living intentionally.
Yeah. So we actually don't know where it's going to take us, this conversation even, but we'll just see where it goes. I think being intentional, we can be intentional with God and we can be intentional with each other. But yeah, I don't know. What are you thinking about that?
I think when I first started speaking about being intentional, it was rather than life happening to you, being aware and being present, and then making choices within the moment while listening to God. So wherever that goes, I don't know where it's going to go, but I don't have any control over it. But knowing that what I do and where I place my foot next and who I engage with and what I say, even if I mess it up, as long as I'm intentional about being present and being real, then I can roll with that.
You mentioned something in there about doing it with God. How do we do that? And we're all on this journey of like learning what that means too, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't think I figured it out. 'Cause I'm an infant in this, really. Knowing that that's my go-to. That's my full stop. And wherever that sentence rolls into, it's not up to me. Yeah, what's next is, I think that we've spoken that a few times. You know, what's the next step? Because being on the way is not knowing the full map. It's just knowing that the map's out there, and I just got to know where God. You just got to tell me where I've got to put that next foot. I've got a massive plan of how I want things to roll out.
Eventually, right? You got the big picture.
I've got a mind map that's probably 15, 20 years of work, but things get thrown up at me, and if I'm not checking in with God, then I'm stepping off the way. I'm taking control of it. And yeah, God, I believe you showed me this big mind map, and that's great. But okay, this is what's here. And if I don't check in, I can start walking down into something that's not right now. It's on the map.
Yeah, or striving for something that's not meant to happen right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to complete it right now. Try really hard to make it happen.
Yeah.
You have this big picture, and it sounds like what you're saying is, and I agree, is to get there, we need to be intentional with God. And the end result may be totally different as well. Like we're okay with that as well.
And there's things that I've added that God showed me on the way when he's gone, no, this is it. And things have popped up, and it's been like, yeah, that's better than what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know, okay. And then there's other times where God's like, yeah, don't rub that out. That's still part of the plan, but you need to add this.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that's going to be, but put that down. You know?
We got, like, Dan, you have a different perspective than all of us, I think, because I don't know, what are you an ex-pastor now, or what would you call yourself?
Yeah, probably that, I guess. I don't really think about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Some years ago, I was pretty intentional about not having my identity around being a pastor or minister.
Yeah.
Because I saw that the way popular church, or whatever you want to call it, works, it's a job. And I didn't want it to be a job. I wanted it to be part of who I was, but not so much a central part of my identity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I believe that I was called to shepherd people and look after people, but not as a career, just as something, because that's what Jesus wanted me to do. But I never wanted to be so central to my identity that I lost sight of the deeper identity, being a son of God, a follower of Jesus, that kind of thing.
Do you think it's that intentionality of you chasing God that led you to where you are now? Like it's totally different than what you would have expected. I'm assuming, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like where you maybe thought your life would be.
Yeah, definitely. That resonates with you. You're saying, Cal, about not always seeing what was ahead and God taking you on unexpected twists and turns, because that certainly was my experience. Well, I had struggles or concerns or all those sorts of things with the way church was.
Yeah.
And questions, is this really the way God wanted it? And as I delved into that and explored and found answers, it did take me down a different road.
So all you did was like chase God, and then he showed you something different.
Yeah, and chase truth particularly as well. What truth around why do we do the things we do as Christians, because it didn't sometimes make sense to me.
Yeah, well, you told me you were the first person to mention pagan Christianity to me.
Yeah. So I read that when I was a pastor, and of a traditional, institutional church.
Yeah.
And it took me up. It took me still many years after that to kind of, leave institutional Christianity. But I remember reading it and thinking at the time, man, I have to resign from what I'm doing because I'm feeding into a system that I'm not sure Jesus wants.
Yeah.
So anyway, but thinking of intentionality, when you guys mentioned it a little earlier today, when my mind went to actually when you guys shared your story of how you met, I heard intentionality in that.
Well, why can't we should share it because no one's ever seen Cal before.
Yeah.
So,
This is the first,
yeah.
So the bit particularly I'm thinking about is the comment you made about I'll meet Ben if he's a real dude and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you my part of it. It was like how this happened. It was really interesting. My dad died 9 months ago or so, and then Mum said you should talk to this. My mum has said lots of shoulds and shouldn'ts in my life, and it really bumps me out. So I don't like shoulds or shouldn'ts. So she's like, you should talk to this guy. I'm like, no, don't tell me what to do. I'm not talking to anyone. And it's like, and then she must have talked to you or something and said and asked if it was okay. And then Mum came back to me and said, Cal said he'll meet with you but he only wants to do it if you're real. And I'm like, because I'm all about being real and authentic. And if you're not real or authentic, I don't want to spend time with you. So I'm like, wow, it pricked my ears up. That stuck out to me. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go. Yeah. And then we met up and then, coffee. How did that comment about being real, like you?
Why? Or where does it come from?
Yeah.
It comes from years of chasing a brotherhood. Years of wanting community of strong, faith-filled, not religious men. Yeah. And that's been kind of condensed down to men who are real, authentic, and willing to be vulnerable. And I think out of that, with Jesus and God at the center of it all, we can pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
And anything that is in His will. And there's so many desires that have come out of His will that I never thought that were part of my life. You know, creativity, podcasts, starting a business. Like they're things that I didn't believe that happened to people like me. Yeah. Or I was good enough, or that I had something to share. Knowing that what I want is community. Yeah. You know, I've said it to you a few times now.
And you've said that you've looked for it for a long time, strived to get it for a long time as well.
And I've had one or two mates over time, but they've always kind of petered out. They've never really grown to more than that. Yeah. And then I've read a few books where they've spoken about having a group of 12, SEAL teams of 12. Jesus had 12 disciples.
12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah.
Big number.
Yeah. And having that amount of people, I don't know how long it's going to take, and I don't care, but knowing that that's my intention is to grow that. Again, intentionally being open to meeting those kind of men. Yeah. And not because of what I can get out of them, but because of what we can do together. How can I support you? And now I've met, IT people, I've met business leaders, I've met teachers, met you guys, all because of God.
We're intentional with God, and then He brings us these people and then we can be intentional with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And intentional, I think I was crooked 2 weeks ago, and say no, when we're meeting, first of all, us meeting at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday, between 9 and 10 for an hour and a half on a Wednesday, shouldn't happen in our world.
Not for a couple of guys who are meant to be working.
Yeah. We should be in an office somewhere, which would absolutely kill us. But no, that intentional about that time that we spend, because I know how important it is.
And this trip too, we intentionally came out here and to hang out with each other, even though we were talking about it before, it's sort of it's tough for us to make this split, get this time and do it. But we felt like it was important.
Hearing that story earlier made me think immediately of the intentionality that was part of that story, like your comment on, dude that you're willing to connect with. There's intention in that, there's purpose. Yes. It's not just haphazard or, sure, I'll go hang out with whoever. Same with you, and obviously that intentionality you both had is what God used to connect you both. But I also thought of intentionality is not just something for followers of Jesus, like people in general can have intention and purpose behind things. So maybe it's part of, the redemption process or relationship that we have with God, that he changes the things that we intend or the things that we purpose for ourselves. There's all those verses about, delight yourself in God and give you the desires of your heart. All those sorts of ideas, maybe that's part of how God's reforming, reshaping us. So the intentionality that we have is something that's ultimately coming from him or inspired by him, so he can accomplish his purpose.
Yeah, and you can't be run over then, can you? The world can't run over you if you're intentional with things and with people. It's like everything becomes more real and authentic.
Well, there's always agendas, isn't there? That's around us, and we've got to be intentional about what agenda we sign up with.
And I think that the beautiful thing about when you're up front from the beginning is that the door's always open.
Yeah.
You haven't shut a door there. If for whatever reason, 5 months, 5 years down the line, someone knocks on your door, that was, and you're still doing what you're doing, then it just continues. But now they're ready, and not forcing someone to live someone else's choice.
I love the idea of being intentional. For me, it has changed my life. Be intentional with God. That's the path that I got taken down with intentionality, and then things flow from that. Then you get these real relationships that you don't have to strive for. It's just who you are together.
Your desire to have that community. I think we, in institutional church or as institutional Christians, we're not meant to have desires. They're evil. They're selfish.
That's it.
But that desire, I believe, is God's desire, and he put that on your heart, and you were living that out. And again, intentionally listening and walking down that path that, I don't know how this is going to work, but these are the things that I've read something, I see something, I want to implement that in my life. I need to walk down this way.
The cool thing was, it wasn't just me or my wife, it was a group of us.
Yeah.
And we had that shared desire, intentionality and purpose. That was really empowering.
Community is so important.
Well, the contrast probably to traditional church is, at the end of the day, it's not a whole group of people who are coming up with, hey, this is what we're going to be about. It's the leader's role who does that, the people who cast the vision, and then
Steps in the line.
the plebs have to follow the vision. This was empowering for the group of people, because it was all of us going,
it's us in
this
it
is what we want together, and they were all part of that decision and, forming the community. It wasn't just me going, this is what we're going to do. Because I don't think ultimately that will work.
No. It never has it?
No.
Yeah, it's always failed,
Well, again, it can work. It depends how you measure it. It will accomplish something, but is it the thing that Jesus wants to accomplish?
Maybe you can count something on your fingers and we've got some numbers.
Yeah.
I think intentionality also brings flow. Flow in that you didn't force anything. It just, it flowed. Our relationship, our friendship, our way has just flowed. I came in to help you through a moment. You helped me through this way. And now we're helping each other. There's no, I haven't pulled you into anything. You haven't, manipulated me to go down a certain way. And then the people, I think the other flow of it is the people who we're being introduced to, or who are coming into our lives and are crossing our path. There's no way I would have been able to meet some of the people that I've met if I had tried to do it myself. I shouldn't say no way. Maybe there would be a way, but it had been manipulated, and someone would have felt shortchanged.
And it would have been like blurry as well, because you don't know what's real and what's not in those situations. Yeah. No, that's cool. I love the flow as well. Flowing is awesome. Intentionality with God, then you can flow with him in life. Yeah, cool. I love it. Sweet as. Well, that'll do then, eh?
Cool.
All right, see ya.